Good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1: when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you'll hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and utilize your headphones. Trigger warning 2: this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised. Now, because World War III is once again trending, I wanted to just inject a little bit of sanity here. If you are a student of history, you recognize the ongoing events of what's going on right now and what's surrounding it is not the goose step to World War III, so much as it is we're in another Cold War. Key factors should be the fact that A, it's the two regular players, the US and Russia. What are the US and Russia doing right now? They're fighting proxy wars in the Middle East, as they always have done. Ever read that verse in the Bible that says there's nothing new under the sun? Yeah. History repeats itself. So no, I don't see this escalating into World War III. What I'm seeing is, as per usual, now that we're back to open hostility again, the United States and Russia are going to fight their proxy wars using nations and peoples out of the Middle East to do it. Okay? It's the same old, right? The reason why World War III trends all the time is because you have a large sect of individuals who have an insane amount of wealth in this country, an insane amount of political influence that got their first foothold during the Reagan years. That's right, I'm talking the evangelicals. Funny thing about evangelicals, if you ever studied dispensationalism, you begin to see this fatalistic outlook. Put it point blank, it's a death cult. Heavy emphasis on the death cult. These folks not only are looking forward to World War III and Armageddon, they believe it is actually their religious duty to usher it along. I shit you not. I shit you not. I am not making this up. Go look it up. All right? When you look at dispensationalism, there's several steps, like a step-by-step plan to march us straight into hell. And all of it has to do with the Middle East. This is why anytime there's any conflict in the Middle East, you'll see these people start trending World War III. And the good majority of the time, they're going to act like they're opposed to it. They might even believe that themselves. But ultimately, if you look at that series of beliefs, if you look at dispensationalism, you can see it's almost a step-by-step guidebook on actions that can be taken to usher in the millennial reign. Okay? But here's where it gets interesting in the most recent years. The water's been polluted, hasn't it? You literally have individuals who call themselves Christians who put up nonstop blasphemous images of Donald Trump all over the place, including an image of his head in the place of Jesus in an art piece that is known as the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Him being crucified in the place of Jesus. There's a word for that, folks. It's called blasphemy. So it's this new duality. They have their new idol, but they still pair it with this insane dispensationalism. Okay? That's what it all is. That's what it's always been. Okay? It's a little history for you. But if we look at reality and the track record of so-called evangelical prophets, every time a big pronouncement has been made, it's fallen through. Okay? Not the best track record in the world now, is it? If we take pretty much everything, our own emotions, our own ties, what we believe, if we take that all out of the equation and look at it logically, you can't help but seeing business as usual. Anytime the United States and Russia are hostile with each other, they begin their proxy war bullshit. And it always surrounds the Middle East. Always. You know what? World hasn't ended yet. If they were to follow their own beliefs, and actually were sola scriptura, you cannot say that you are sola scriptura if you go along with dispensationalism, because it's a cherry picking of the Bible to form a narrative that is to your liking. All right? So, we look at actual history objectively. The US and Russia are at each other's throats again, and they're going to fight their little proxy wars in the Middle East and in some areas in Eastern Europe, just as they've always have done. It's going to be disastrous and many lives will be lost. But it's not World War III yet. If you're a student of the World Wars, you understand that it only kicks up to that rate when one superpower attacks another superpower. And then we enter into the chain reactions that lead us into a world war. We're not there yet, folks. We're nowhere near that yet. Please, can we start acting with a little bit of sanity here? All right, sorry, I needed to rant because that's what this is. That's what this is. Let's go into where we left off yesterday. I'm sorry to rant. I know I said I would start having ranting separate, but folks, there's only so much time in a day. I have to mask heavily on the phone for hours and hours a day. Please forgive me on that. I promise, I will get back to autistics in the workplace. Just kind of bear with me here, okay? All right. The FDA has not dismissed the views of these parents, but rather has given their input careful consideration. As we stated in the proposed rule, the FDA has no reason to doubt these parents' best intentions, the sincerity of their belief that an ESD is best or perhaps only option for their loved one, or that they have tried alternatives without success. In other words, we hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, but you're not hearing the words coming out of our mouths. This is the only thing that works. We've tried everything else. We have. No, you haven't. I'm sorry, honey, but you haven't. And it's not necessarily your fault. You have been misled by individuals who should have known better and walked you through the process of getting proper services with your kids. You were failed by your school system and then failed by every single person down along the line that led to this. Okay? The reason why, quote unquote, nothing else worked is because you're flying blind. If you're flying blind, how do you expect anything to work? The reason why there's so many treatment programs out there is because we understand in the sane world, there is no cookie cutter one size fits all. Right? The best way to determine what type of treatment program might work the best for your child is taking the proper steps without skipping to find that residential program, school program, community-based program, whatever that program may be. If you want to make sure you are serving your kids' needs, you can't be skipping that full functional behavioral assessment. Without it, you're flying blind. You are throwing your kid into a program that literally treats all the problems they don't have and none of them that they actually do have. And you wonder why that's not helpful. This is why we can't skip steps. This is why we got to get better resources into parents' hands, especially for the communities, the poor communities out there, people of color. Okay? People with resources and knowledge are sometimes a lot harder to fool. If you hear the sometimes doubt my voice, that's because I've seen recent history. But ideally, you know, we don't doubt that some of you are, as I've called it before, true believers. But really think about this. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You may see the child that you want to see. And because of that, you'll blind yourself to all else. And then we come along and we tell you it's wrong because it is, and that they're abusing your child. And you become terrified that if we get our way and put this place in the way of the dodo, that then you're going to have to deal with it again. And let me also argue this, parents, for those of you who are true believers, if you believe the GED is what's going to make your kid better, why are you so terrified of them coming off the device? Why are you so terrified of the JRC being closed down? If this is the treatment your kiddo needs, if this is what's going to make them productive part of their communities, why are you so frightened? It's because deep down you know it's horseshit. Deep down, you know if JRC closes down and your kids come back home because their underlying issues causing the behavior were undealt with, and now they've got PTSD and a whole lot of rage to go along with it because of how they have been treated as less than animals, that you're going to have to deal with that. And the increasingly more aggressive behaviors that come from having that massive chip on your shoulder, rage, and PTSD. Right? We can't be going and skipping steps, folks. Those building blocks are there for a reason. Okay? I think deep down, you're terrified because you know that device does not actually stop those behaviors entirely. Because that device can only stop you in the moment. It does not provide coping mechanisms that can be utilized down the line to keep us from the most harmful of our behaviors. Because it can't. Punishment cannot teach life skills. Let me say it again for the idiots in the back. Punishment and torture do not teach life skills. Okay? It's not going to teach us how to be better parts of our community and get rid of the not so fun side of our diagnosis. Because it can't. Any more than spanking kids with the belt, of which my generation was the last, where that was considered acceptable and normal, stopped us from any of the insane antics that we got up to, and I could justifiably argue actually encourage us to even more dangerous, potentially life-threatening escapades. All right? It's not the only option. For your kid's sake, that gut instinct that you have that this is wrong, that gut instinct that you have, the fear that you have of your kid being taken off that device, and knowing deep down in your soul that there's not so great fun side to autism is going to rear its ugly head hard, that part of you need to start paying attention to. Because it isn't lying to you. And you need to act. Okay? Number 2, quit shouting at us that you've tried everything. We know that proper resources were not placed in your hands. Nobody walked you through and helped you navigate getting services for your kids and what that all entails. We understand that. Throwing your kid randomly into different programs and then saying you've tried everything is not the argument you think it is. Nor does it answer any of the FDA's challenges in regards to longevity of the so-called behavioral changes, because it can't. It can't. All right? Let's continue, shall we? Whether they were opposed to or in favor of a ban, the FDA considered each parent's comments and submissions for the panel meeting, as well as their comments submitted to the public docket for this rule. As explained in the proposed rule, we did not consider these parents' reports as scientific evidence relating to the use of the devices. Exactly. It's fuck it. It's hearsay. All right? Your opinion of that device giving you your perfect child, or at least the image, the lie, the pretty fabrication of the child that you wanted. It's a mirage, people. It's a lie. I know what masking is. Masking is a lie. It's a persona. Nothing more. Nothing more. And I'm really going to have to clean this camera out once we're finished with this one, folks. Goodness, I can see that right there. I'll get that clean in a minute. But yeah, they didn't go over these parents' comments. They're not dismissing them. But your anecdotal evidence versus cold, hard data and more case studies that I could shake a stick at, even if I did so until I was 99 years old. The science and the numbers don't work. Your form of reality may not actually be reality. Okay? Yeah. The scientific evidence does not back these statements. It says the direct opposite. Okay? Just saying. Let's continue. Rather, FDA used these parents' reports to help inform our understanding of parents' and patients' experiences and knowledge regarding the risks and benefits of ESDs and the state of the art. What we have been able to consistently prove is that these parents had no clue where to even start. Resources were not placed into their hands. After they got their diagnosis, they were left on their own. Nobody cared to help them navigate the system to help them get proper services. It's something you see on repeat through many different parents' testimonies. You can see glaringly, the missing full functional behavioral assessment and the subsequent reassessments that go on throughout the duration of our lives. Right? You don't see any of that. The school thought something was wrong, and we put them in their bastardized version of ABA, and that didn't work. So the school kicked the can down the road to this program because my kid did not get any help, because that program was not designed in particular for neurodivergents like him. They got kicked out of that and kicked out of that. And now my kid's becoming more aggressive and frustrated. You see, that's what happens when you throw us into programs that do not address any of our issues and address all the issues that we don't have. It's frustrating. It is migraine inducing. If you keep doing that, it's going to boil over. Okay? Remember how many times I said you guys don't pay the price we do? Might want to listen up. All right? The science don't back these statements. Science is built on data, not what the JRC is trying to sell you. We're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. You know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all in a little while. Bye-bye, everyone.